Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Made You Book. My name's Gretchen and today I'm continuing my Booker Prize Longlist journey and I'm going to be talking about the second book that I finished, which is Old God's Time by Sebastian Barry. Now, so far, the Booker Longlist is impressing me. I certainly hope that I haven't peaked and that some of the other books that I read are just as good, but this was a phenomenal book in my opinion. Now, I do understand that there's definitely an audience for this, and there's definitely a group of people that are not going to like this book for several reasons, and I personally really enjoyed the writing style. Although there were a lot of tough subjects and topics that were covered, I think that it was done with intention, and I think that it was an integral part of the story and it wasn't just gratuitously there. So for those of you that aren't aware, this book does cover the topic of the abuse from priests in the Catholic Church. So just know that going into this story, if that's something that you don't like to read about, this definitely is not going to be the book for you. So why did I like this book so much? So there's several reasons. So before I get into those reasons, let me just give you a little synopsis of what the book is about. And I won't go into too many details because it would be very easy for me to get into spoiler territory if I did that. So I'll keep it as vague as possible. So the main protagonist of the story, his name is Tom Kettle, and he is a recently retired detective. He has been on the force for a really long time, and he has retired within the last year. He is a widower, and he has recently moved into a new home. It's kind of this little building that's an offshoot of this old castle on the Irish Sea, and he has an eccentric little landlord, and it's secluded. It's in an area where he doesn't have a whole lot of interactions with people. He's put off from the rest of the world, and he does occasionally run into and have interactions with that landlord. And there's also a neighbor that is a young mother that he sees every once in a while. So needless to say, he kind of has a very quiet life, and not a whole lot of exciting things are happening for him. Until there's one night when two of his former colleagues from the police department show up on his door, and they have some questions for him about a cold case that he was involved with during a time that he was at the force many years ago. And why this cold case is kind of resurfacing is that these two detectives are currently working on a case involving allegations of abuse from a priest, and that particular priest has brought up Tom's name and a cold case from years ago that was also involving a priest. So that's kind of the general overview of what the story is about. And as Tom starts to reminisce on that particular cold case, that's when we kind of go into the main meat of the story, which is Tom remembering everything. And what I really loved about this story was the way that Sebastian Barry was able to play on memory, and that is a major theme throughout this book. Throughout the entirety of it, Tom is remembering things about his past. He is remembering things, and I don't really want to give away too many spoilers, but you wonder as a reader if what Tom is talking about or what he is bringing up is actually what really happened. There are definitely moments where you realize that there's something not quite right with what Tom is speaking about, and it doesn't take away from the story at all. As a matter of fact, I think it's what makes this story so interesting, because you as a reader are questioning the validity of what he is saying, not necessarily because you wonder if it's truth, but you're wondering, is it currently happening? Is it something that has happened in the past? Is he maybe getting to the point where he is starting as an adult to have memory loss? Are there memories that he is just now remembering, maybe repressed things that he had never thought of before that are starting to come to the surface? And for those of you that aren't aware, the term Old God's Time refers to that that point beyond, or that period beyond memory. So this is definitely a great title for this book, for how much the character depends on memory and all of the things that have happened to him in the past. So that really was exciting. It was challenging to keep up with the narrative, to understand whether or not he was talking about the past, the present, whether or not what he was actually talking about was true. And I love a story with a good, unreliable narrator, and this definitely lived up to that for me. The second reason why I really enjoyed this book was the writing in general. This is the first Sebastian Barry book that I've wrote, so I only have this to go off of, but I found the writing to be very beautiful, and it was it was not necessarily flowery. I use the word intent. Sebastian Barry in this book has a way of making and choosing every word very wisely, which I really appreciate. The one thing that kind of struck me about this book is, you probably can't see, but I actually did annotate this. And where I decided, or why I decided to go ahead and annotate, was as I was reading, I was picking up on these words and phrases, and I kept thinking to myself, like, wow, that's a really odd word to use, or that's a very striking phrase. And when I got further into the book, or a little further, I realized the intent of why he used those phrases and words. And it was like little Easter eggs strewn throughout the book. So I started to annotate and pick out those things. And sure enough, as I progressed through the story, I was not disappointed to find out that, yep, that I knew that was weird, or I knew that was placed there for a reason. And I really appreciated that part of his writing craft. The other part of the book is, we talked a lot about memory, and in those memories, Tom is bringing up a lot about his family. So I told you that he was a widower, and his wife June is a prominent character in his memory throughout the book. And the way that he talks about his wife and his children, his two children, is just, it just melted my heart and broke my heart at the same time. He had such a pure love for them, an unconditional love, and the way that it was conveyed was just really powerful, and it truly showed Tom's character as a person and how the love that he had for his family was paramount, and he would do anything to protect them and save them from any type of disappointment or hurt. And when it comes to that, the disappointment and the hurt, Tom and his family, they have had a very difficult life. There are a lot of things that they have had to deal with, and the way that Barry addressed those traumas, I thought was done in great taste. And one major theme about this book as well, so we have memory, we have the love of family, and we also have trauma. So obviously having a plot related to allegations of abuse in the Catholic Church, you are definitely dealing with traumas in people. And the one thing that I really took away from this book is how well Sebastian Barry displayed that one person's trauma is not limited to them. If you have a trauma, a personal trauma, that is also absorbed by the people that you love, and you take on other people's traumas because you love them. So you guys, even though you're not the actual victim of a trauma, you are still suffering from that because the people that you love are. And I think that that was done brilliantly, and I really appreciated that, because everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people think that is one person going through something is limited to them, but the ramifications of that trauma bleed out into everybody that comes in contact with that person. And if you truly do love a person, you take that on yourself, and you take that on to help heal them and get them through that trauma. And I think that that was just really, really well done. And the final thing that I really appreciated about this book and what it got me thinking was, when we talk about trauma, we also have justice. So when we talk about traumas that are happening, in order for us to overcome those things, there has to be some type of justice for that person. And the more that I started to think about it, it just made me wonder and kind of ponder, does justice really exist, or is justice something that's just there for the law or the bystanders that are wrapped up in those stories? But does the victim actually ever get justice? Whether the victim is still with us or whether they are no longer in this world, does getting justice through the criminal system, or even from vigilante justice sometimes, where people take it into their own hands to get what they deem as justice, does it even matter? This particular book just really started making me think about all of those things. And I just loved it for that. This book was challenging for me. It has made me think and really kind of dig deep more than I have in a really long time. And I am still thinking about those things and pondering kind of those big life questions. And like I said, it's been a while since I've had a book that has done that for me, and I just really appreciated it. I have heard criticism of this book for Barry not really doing anything unique or new, but I don't feel that way. I personally have not read a book like this in a really long time, and if you are aware of any books that are similar, if you've read this, that kind of touch on those themes, please let me know, because I'm very interested in reading it, because I did enjoy this so much. So yeah, Booker season is off to a great start. This was a 5-star for me. And like I said at the beginning, I hope that I haven't peaked, because if the books are just keep getting better, I am in for a very wild and I'm in for a very wild and rewarding ride for sure. So thanks again for watching my video. Thanks for listening to me rant and rave about these books. If you like these reviews, please go ahead and subscribe or like or comment on the video. And I'm not sure which one I'm going to be reading next, but I do plan on doing a video for all of the Booker Longlisted titles. So until then, we'll see you next time. Take care and happy reading. Bye.